Hey guys, Ashley here and welcome to my messy life. If you're new here, hi, my name is Ashley. I am a stay-at-home mom of 5, soon to be 6 this coming August, a wife, and a senior at a university in the state of Florida studying criminology. I'm here today to talk to you about the case of Ashley Benefield, and it's been referred to in the media as the Black Swan case. I feel that it's time that somebody covered the evidence in this case rather than posting things that are not backed by the evidence in this case. So I'm here to do that today, and I hope that this gives people a more accurate, factual view of what actually happened here. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. Today's video is going to be a lot of me going through the motion to dismiss the Stand Your Ground case. That's what I have access to, are the documents from that, which show some differences in what is being said in the media and what actually happened in this case. And also I will be showing you a website that is called westandwithashley.com, and there's some more information about the case on that website as well. I find myself struggling in finding a place to start with this case because unlike other cases where you're dealing with just a random intruder, Ashley and Doug Benefield knew each other. They were married. They had a child together. They were subject to a custody agreement in Manatee County court system. They were both planning to move to another state together while co-parenting. Ashley was not going to be moving in with Doug. Doug was going to be living separately from Ashley. The home that they were in was Ashley's home that she shared with her mother and her daughter. One of the main things that is not being spoken about here is that if Ashley had not defended herself against Doug on that September 2020 day, we would be having a very different conversation. We would be so sad that another young, beautiful, intelligent mother full of potential in life was lost to a domestic violence situation that the court system would not allow her to be protected from. I will show you evidence in this video that proves, even at Doug's own admittance, that he shot a hole in the ceiling of their home in another state before they moved to Florida because Ashley wouldn't be quiet. And the whole reason he gave for why he did it was essentially because she made him mad and she wouldn't be quiet. So he shot a hole in the ceiling. This is definitely an abusive behavior pattern. And in a lot of states, the person committing that type of behavior would not be allowed unsupervised visitation of the child in question. This was a pattern behavior for Mr. Benefield. In fact, there is evidence from the Stand Your Ground motion that shows a text message from Mr. Benefield's late wife stating she had experienced him holding a gun to his head twice, and he had been abusive to her, but he has used guns to intimidate his spouses in the past. Mr. Benefield also admits in a text message that is in the evidence from the Stand Your Ground motion that he placed a tracker on Ashley's car, and he promises not to do that again. The exact highlighted portion of this message says, "I promise you going forward, I won't do anything stupid, embarrassing, and insulting like I did with the waterworks or back early in the year when I put Ava's tracker on your car." Ava is the name of his daughter. There are text messages on the We Stand with Ashley website that go over some of Mr. Benefield's other admissions, and I will show them to you now. Who got me so mad, Ashley? I told her about the wall. I told her about the gun. I told her we argued. Common denominator is you. Until you, I have never punched a dog or shot a gun. Look in the mirror yourself. So you told her then? You told her and DSS that you punched the dog. I punched the dog because you got me so mad, like you wouldn't stop about Ava. Always Ava, every argument. You punched the dog because of Ava? Sounds like you're unstable. Wow, look in the mirror, Ashley. So you admitted to all that, huh? This is a picture of Snuffy, the family cat. When he hit, kicked, and punched the dog and threw the family cat, Doug used his abuse of their pets as a means to hurt and control Ashley. I just lost it. I found my breaking point. And you took it out on the dog. Fine, you can remind me. Ashley, I was stupid. I was angry. I was frustrated. I was lost. I needed help. I got help. And you threw a 13-year-old cat. How many times do you want me to say I failed? That all shows that a man who has never done that was under too much pressure. So what is the point in me going over all of this when I'm going to talk about the self-defense case? Because Mr. Benefield was not a stranger to Ashley, and there was a stand your ground at the beginning. I felt it was important to establish the relationship that they had and show the evidence of domestic violence and patterns of his behavior with Ashley as well as with his late wife. As I said earlier, despite Mr. Benefield admitting to many of the things during civil trial, he was granted custody of their child unsupervised. A lot of people who have covered this case don't seem to understand why Ashley would move to another state with Doug or why she would have any unnecessary contact with him. And I can tell you from personal experience, having also been in a domestic violence relationship in the past, that I did a lot of things that Ashley did to try to make sure that my child was safe. When the court orders that you must surrender your child to a person that you feel is not a safe person despite evidence of domestic violence, a mother will do her best to keep her child safe within those bounds by not denying visitation, but being present during that visitation if possible. On the We Stand with Ashley website, there are photos that portray bruising and injuries to the child. Due to YouTube's terms and conditions, I cannot put those photos on this video. They are under the portion of the website that says Ashley's story, and you may look at them if you wish. Before we move further, I would also like to clarify what I mean by custody when I am talking about unsupervised custody. In Florida, we don't do custody per se. We do something called time sharing, and so he was granted unsupervised time sharing with the child, and time sharing could be 50-50. That's usually what Manatee County shoots for, no matter what, in any case. But it could also mean, 35% for one parent and the rest for someone else. So time sharing is a little bit different in Florida than it is in other places. And generally, there is not one parent that has residential custody of a child. Especially in cases that have domestic violence components, a lot of the time, if this is not taken care of in a way that is appropriate to keep the parent who's being abused safe, it's not always a woman, sometimes the man is being abused, it doesn't leave the other parent much choice but to try to co-parent with the other person in a way that is not safe for the parent who is being abused. I will speak very briefly on the statement that there was not a, quote, scintilla of evidence, unquote, that Miss Benefield was poisoned by Doug. Originally, when I was starting to make this video, I felt that I should not even touch this statement because I felt that it wasn't relevant to the evidence of domestic violence in the civil case. However, after watching the June 3rd streaming and the commentary on Court TV of this statement and how Ashley's lawyer was trying to get this statement taken out of the evidence that was to be viewed by the jury, and as I watched Court TV misuse this statement again, saying that it meant that there was no evidence of domestic violence in the civil case, I felt that I needed to touch on this. The judge never said there was not a scintilla of evidence that Doug shot a hole in the ceiling, punched holes in the walls, placed a tracker on her car. All of these and more abusive acts were admitted to by Mr. Benefield in his depositions, and these were accepted into evidence. This particular statement was made in reference to the evidence that was presented about claims that Ashley was being poisoned by Doug. Sometimes evidence like this in expert witness testimony is not accepted in court, particularly civil court. That doesn't mean that it's not true. For instance, drawing a parallel between civil and criminal law, there are literally people sitting on death row right now that have DNA evidence that exonerates them. Sometimes newer science is not accepted by the judge, and until it's no longer new. And sometimes even then, like with the DNA evidence, it's not accepted. Now that I have shown you the evidence from the civil trial and have dispelled some of the ugliest lies about the nature of their relationship and the domestic violence, I would like to move on to some of the untruths being perpetuated by the media about the day that the shooting occurred. I will start with one of the biggest, which is that Doug was shot in the back. According to the medical examiner, whose testimony from the Stand Your Ground trial I will include now, he was not shot in the back. I will let you hear this from the medical examiner's mouth.
Okay. So let's talk specifically about the chest wound first.
Yes.
So this wound, I don't know if you said it first or if I said it first, was an entrance wound. How do you determine the difference between an entrance wound and an exit wound of a firearm?
Well, there are characteristics of the hole in the skin itself that can be helpful in that regard, but the easiest way to be able to tell the difference between an entrance and an exit is if you have one hole and the projectile still in the body and you have a track between those 2 points.
Okay.
That's what we have here. So
okay.
that helped me be very confident that this was an entrance wound.
That's the entrance wound.
If you have 2 holes and no projectile, usually it's pretty clear, but it can be a little bit harder.
Okay. But in this case with the chest wound, was not difficult.
That's correct.
Okay. So this is State's Exhibit 32. It's a closer up image of the chest wound. Can you just point out where the bullet injury would be?
Yes, that's right here.
Okay. And then State's Exhibit 33 is the back of Mr. Benefield, and there's a lot of discoloring the top of the shoulders and the lower back. What is that?
Yes, so you're correct. This is his back, and just for clarification, this is the neck and the back of the head, the left ear, and there's this pink-purple discoloration here, but especially up here on the, let's just say the shoulder regions. That's lividity. Lividity is the pooling of blood that occurs in the body after death. That part of what we see is not injury or in any way related to what happened to him prior to his death. It's simply essentially what we would call an artifact or a post-mortem finding.
Okay, so this is the darkness that we're seeing here is just sort of a natural process.
This here and this here.
Okay.
That's correct.
And what about this picture is not a natural process?
Within this area that's not discolored, and the reason for that is that there was pressure on the skin here that prevented the blood from pooling after death, so that's why it's more pale. But in the at least contained within that zone is this smaller, darker purple area, and that is not lividity or a postmortem finding. That's associated with injury.
Okay. Did you inspect that area to find out what it was?
Yes.
Okay, and what was it?
I could palpate, I could feel a lump under that area of the back, and upon further examination by cutting the skin and examining underneath, there was a projectile there.
Okay, so I'm going to show you States 34. What are we looking at here?
This is a photograph that was taken after I had done the incision and essentially uncovered the projectile that was in the subcutaneous tissue, the tissue under the skin.
Okay.
And that's the projectile right there.
And during the autopsy, were you able to connect the path of the initial hole to this projectile?
Yes.
Okay. And if you could just explain what it went from which side to which side? So,
referring back to the photograph, if you will, we don't have to show it, but it was on the left side of the back, and the entrance wound that we saw was on the right side of the chest.
Okay.
So the path that the bullet took was across his chest from right to left.
Okay.
It was also somewhat from front to back. In considering a standing position, it was horizontal, roughly, meaning that the entrance wound was at the same height above the ground, if he were standing, that the bullet was found. So there was no significant upward or downward trajectory through the body.
Okay. So on that plane, it was fairly horizontal. It didn't go up or down much.
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to, I can either do it on myself or you can do it on me. So, or I can do it on me. Point to where the injury wound would be on you.
So on me, the entrance wound is basically where I'm pointing now.
Here is a diagram from the Stand Your Ground hearing, and in this diagram is the positioning of Doug and Ashley on the day of the shooting. This is where the shooting happened. There's also other information in this document. Please feel free to pause the video and expand it on your screen so that you can read it better. There's also the falsehood being perpetuated that Miss Benefield did not have any injuries to her body the day of the shooting, and she did. She had swelling on her face as well as bruising around her eye. She also had scratches on her stomach from when Mr. Benefield body checked her, and the body checking incident was actually seen by an eyewitness, and then the eyewitness's name as well as Mr. Benefield's name were all removed from the police officer's report, and this was brought up during the Stand Your Ground hearing and proven using these drafts. Please feel free to pause the video and take a look at the evolution over time of this report. There are 3 different versions. It is also available on the WeStandWithAshley.com website. You can also watch it evolve live in real time in court if you rewatch the Stand Your Ground trial stream. In closing, I would like to say that I truly hope that watching this video has given you the curiosity to take a look into this case yourself and dig a little deeper than what is being said in the mainstream media outlets. I'm not sure if they haven't seen the documents that I will be including in the description and that I used as resources in this video, or if they are just choosing to sensationalize this case because of the age difference and because of Miss Benefield's former ballerina status. I'm not sure what's going on here, but it doesn't make any sense to me to leave out so many facts and so much evidence in a case in your reporting. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, stay kind, and live your best life.